Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay and see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's get started. So this is basically it, folks. Your project is due this upcoming Sunday night. Next week, I will be not working the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So this is our last official class. So tonight is the night. If you have questions, please don't hold back. Let me go through what I have, and then we'll see what questions that you have. So we had the extended period of time for the quiz 10. There was 3 extra days. So because of that, the total amount of people that participated from this group were 32 out of 34. And you came in with a 96%, which basically was what everybody came in with. You had the second highest rate of participation, 32 out of 34. We had 33 out of 35, and we had 22 out of 22. So those were what we had for the access or for the database quiz. A reminder that the final project and presentation are all due on Sunday night, November 20th, 11:59 p.m. And I wanted to be sure that everybody understands what those submissions should include. So remember, the Moodle page is currently down today, but you shouldn't need access to that for this class because everybody should already have everything downloaded that they needed. And there's no quiz, so it'll be back up, it said, within 12 to 24 hours tops. The files that you're supposed to be submitting this upcoming Sunday night, a Microsoft Word resume. You will complete a personal resume choosing one of the 4 types listed here: a chronological resume, a functional resume, a combination resume, or a targeted resume. So they all basically include the same thing when it comes to what should be in your resume. But I am still getting questions from people asking me, sir, do I need to make up information for my resume? And the answer has been and always will be no. You are supposed to be providing your information for this resume, right? I saw one resume a student sent me yesterday. It said that they saved over $250,000 for an organization that they've worked for 8 years. Well, this person's only 16 years of age. So unless they started working for this organization when they were 8, I don't believe that that's possible. So this is what I'm talking about. You know, your position that you're applying for is supposed to be something that you are qualified to do. This was discussed in week 4. And again, when I saw what people were sending in week 7, you had the opportunity to send me your information and we discussed it. And during that week, again, I said these jobs you have to be able to apply for and be able to get something that you should be able to get. So if it requires an associate's degree and you don't have an associate's degree and you're going for associate's degree in that same field, then that is something that I would accept, but nothing beyond that. If it requires that you have 10 years experience in the field as a requirement for the position, you have to basically understand that that's not something that you're going to have. If it requires a bachelor's or a master's degree or a PhD, you don't have that and you're very far from it. So remember, you're supposed to be, and this is why the project was given in week 4. To have those questions at this point in time leads me to believe that you have done absolutely nothing on the project until now, which means that you have 30 hours of work ahead of you. So I guess no sleep is in your future, because this project is due Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. If you submit it late, it will be 10 points off, and after the 25th, I will not accept it. I am going to go through these projects and spend 1 hour on each one. So I'm going to be checking these things closely. So you're supposed to have your resume with all of your real information in it. I did say to you that you could embellish a little bit. So for example, if you're a babysitter, you could call that childcare. That's not lying. That's not making things up. You did childcare. You chose to use the word babysitter. I'm telling you to change it and make it sound more professional, right? You work in that field and you deal with the development of children, both from a academic standpoint and also from a humanistic standpoint, making sure the child is fed, making sure the child gets his nap, making sure the child is safe. These are things that you do when you're a babysitter. It is childcare. So that's what I meant by being able to embellish. I didn't say to put down that you work for a company and you saved them $250,000 when you never worked for that company and you're basically, you never could have worked for that company, right? Microsoft Word cover letter. Again, the cover letter should be 4 pages, and both the cover letter and the resume need to be done in Microsoft Word. The resume should be 1 to 2 pages maximum. The cover letter needs to be 1 page. The first page is the cover letter. The second page is the job advertisement. The third page is a copy of your first reference letter. And the fourth page is a copy of your fourth reference letter, which means a screenshot or a picture of those, right? And again, those are real. They are signed by individuals, and you secured them, took pictures of them, and included them. Those are your
Sir?
Yes.
Sorry, can you repeat that last part? You were kind of breaking up about the screenshots, something for the cover letter, I believe you're saying?
I'm just reading off the screen here. You see it here? Right? Your two.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay.
Right. The same thing that I've been saying for every week since week 4, basically, that your 2-character work reference letters should be screenshots, or they should be pictures taken with your phone. So you have your letters, you take screenshots of them using the snipping tool, or you take a picture with your phone and you email it to yourself. You save it to your device, and then you include that as page 3 and page 4. Those are your 2 letters, right? So
okay.
the first 2 items are done using Microsoft Word, okay? Remember, as stated before, you're not to use any templates for either of these, and they're not to be saved in PDF format. If you send any PDF files, that basically means that 1/4 of the grade goes down as a 0 because I'm not going to open it, all right? It needs to be, all of these need to be done in Microsoft Word. When it comes to your Excel budget, it says Microsoft Excel budget, so it's done in Excel. Remember, as we've discussed before, when it comes to the budget, again, these numbers need to be real. You need to have done research. This is why it takes 30 hours to do the project. You're going to have to find out where you're going to live in relation to your job. Even if you're going to live home, I will not accept that you're going to live home and you won't pay nothing. That means you will get a 0 for your budget. Every budget needs to have numbers listed down that you would intend to pay, because if you're going to make $25,000 a year and tell your parents that you're going to continue to live off of them and eat their food, have your mother do your laundry for you, and have them drive you to work and pick you up, that is not reality, right? They're going to throw you out in 10 days. I would throw you out in 2, right? So you have to make sure that you're listing things that are real, that are based upon what you would have to spend in the real world if you were to take this job. If this job is far enough away that you have to move, then you have to, and these are things that I've said repeatedly in recorded sessions and in live sessions, right? And then also when people ask these questions, these are the same things that I've been saying all along. So these numbers all need to be based in reality. You're going to need to get an estimate of what a light bill would be, a water bill, a phone bill, an internet bill, all for wherever it is you're going to live. You're going to have some sort of transportation at some point to get to and from work, unless you're going to live in the same building as the job, right? And then you're going to have food, you're going to have entertainment, you might have pet care, you're going to have maintenance or repairs on either your vehicle, your bike, your motorcycle, your car, your rental, whatever it is that you have, whatever something that you own will break down, you will have to pay for it. You're attending UB, so every one of you will have to put down how much you're going to be paying. Remember that you pay 25% in January, February, March, April, August, September, October, and November. So right there is your tuition and your fees for the year. You're going to have any loans you're paying back, any miscellaneous expenses, healthcare, childcare, clothing, savings, medical, all of that will have to be included. You're going to have 3 pages or 3 spreadsheets that are going to represent your salary coming in, less any deductions, which would be Social Security, income tax, payroll deductions, uniform, whatever, union dues, whatever they take out of your pay. Then you're going to have to come up with your.
Excuse me, real quick.
Go ahead.
What if the company does the deductions before you even get your salary?
By law, they can't take money out of your pay without you knowing about it. That's why they give you what's called a pay stub. Right?
Okay, well, so we have to include it anyways.
Of course, because when you're hired, your company, like a job will not tell you that we're going to pay you $5 an hour times 40 hours, which is $200 a week. They're not going to tell you, they're going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you, well, we're going to pay you $200 a week, but we're going to take out $12 a week to Social Security. So we're actually only going to pay you $188. No one does that. What happens is you're hired
Alright.
for a job and then the deductions are listed. So this is why you're going to need to list the deductions, right? Clear? Okay. And again, all of the deductions are visible based upon what you earn. If you're not sure if you're going to pay income tax, well, then you can go to the income tax website. If you're not sure about your Social Security, then you can go to the Social Security website, right? And then as far as the job, if they're going to deduct anything for your, like say, health insurance, or maybe tool usage, or maybe uniform expense, there are some jobs that will give you a $20 or $50 a month for uniform care, right? There are that actually give you money, but then you're going to include that in your salary. But then you also have to include the fact that you have to go out and buy those uniforms or maintain those uniforms, whether it be dry clean, whether it be an ironing or laundry service or whatever, right? So the thing is here, the idea of this project is it's getting you to think about, if I get a job, where will I spend my money, right? Will I be able to live on the money that I have coming in, right? And then you're going to use the
Sir?
Excel tools. Yes.
Sorry for the interruption, but like with the same thing that you were talking about, like rent, when you said even if you still live with your parents. So as in that, like along with it, as you have with utilities like light, water, and different things. So that different from like, all right, I pay rent, so you have to put down a different setup. You have to take out one different set side for money for the rent.
Well, it depends on your situation. Like I mentioned, when people have asked this question before, and when I brought it up before, I can't possibly think of every scenario that you're in, and I can't possibly answer that 140 times, especially because people keep changing their jobs. But what I can tell you is that when you live at home, you have sometimes what parents will charge you is what's called room and board, which means that you'll pay something towards the house bills, and you'll pay something towards the board, which will be the food part, right? So you could come up with that amount of money, and you could say that you're going to contribute that to your parents' dwelling, right? If you're going to rent a place, then you would have to come up with the rental amount. If you're going to stay with a, say, a relative in another area, you have to come up with an amount of money that you're going to basically decide how much would you give them towards their bills. And in order to figure out an accurate amount, like for example, you may stay with your parents, but at the same time, because you're working from home, or you're doing work that requires maybe use of electricity, the light bill goes up. Or now that you're working, maybe you're working in a shop, you come home at lunch, you have to bathe, you bathe again, you bathe when you come home at night, so you use more water. All of these things you need to, what I'm trying to get across to you is that you have to look at these things and see how you can assist, right? It's obviously a lot easier if you're just going to go to Belmopan to take a job and you're going to pay rent somewhere. That to me would be easier. It's going to be a little bit more difficult, but this is why when you are documenting your expenses, you're going to have to take me through in writing and in your presentation the thought processes of how you came at these numbers, right? I want to see that the research and the legwork was done. So that therefore, in order for you to figure out and tell me how much you're going to be paying to your parents, you're going to have to come up with what is their monthly expenses. What are they paying to live in that home? Whether it be water, whether it be insurance, whether it be light, whether it be electricity, whether it be lease, these types of things that they have. And then, are you able to live there and still work at your job? And if you are, then how are you going to get to your job every day? How are you going to get home every day? For some of you who may live rurally, you say, well, oh, I can save money, I'll live at home. But then there's no public transportation maybe to some of those locations at certain times of the day. So now what you've saved for in rent, you have to pay for because the bus will only take you so far. Then you have to pay for taxi, or you have to rent vehicle, or you have to buy a motorcycle, or you have to, get a bike, and then where are you going to leave the bike? You have to buy a bike lock, right? So all of these things is what I'm trying to
Excuse
get
me,
you to come
sir.
through. Yes.
When you were saying about like payments, a real payment that you do at home, like I figured out the payments that my parents do for the bills, so I made my own out of that. But when you have to explain it in the Excel, how do we put like a whole sentence or something small, like a phrase or something on that?
This is why you have to have the 3 sheets that I explained in the previous sessions. The
Yes,
fir-
sir. I have
right.
the 3 sheets already, the revenue, the expense, and the income.
Okay, can I finish answer the question? Then you can ask me the question again if I don't answer it, okay? I'm right in the middle of answering you, so just give me a moment and I'll try to get to it, okay? What I'm trying to explain to you is at the 3 sheets, right? The first sheet is only going to have like labels or categories, salary, right? And then social security, and then you could say income tax, then you could say net salary. And the next one's going to have, say, utilities, and you're going to break it down to phone, light, whatever. Now that's the cover sheet. That's just going to have those. The other sheets, you can use a cell to describe what is going to be in each of the columns, right? You can either put it before or after. So say, for example, if you have rent, right? You then just take a cell, you wrap the text in the cell, and you use font 8 in that cell, and you basically tell me how you got to it. Now, you don't have to tell me everybody's names and that you had a conversation on July 14th at 11:59 p.m., but you have to give me how you came to that number, right? And it should not be a book. It should basically be, I looked at this, this, and this, and came up with this number for rent to provide to my parents for this, right? What I'm concerned with is that I want to make sure that people aren't just saying, okay, I got a job in Belmopan, but I'm going to continue to live in Punta Gorda, and I'm going and just take it for granted that I'm not going to say anything, right? Then I'm also concerned that people are going to say, oh, I'm going to pay $20 for water, $50 for light. I want to see where these numbers are coming from, right? And again, you can put information there, and if you need to elaborate it, this is why you're going to spend the bulk of your time discussing your budget in your presentation. Okay, is that clearer?
Yes, sir. But for my one, I started today the Excel because I was confused, and what I did was an income sheet at first. Like for each month, you said it was annual, like the 12 months. So I did for each month, and I based it off as an average because for the one that I did, it's a IO season, so I just gave an average amount for each month. And then I had another sheet was just for revenue or utilities, and I listed those. I did my chart to show for each one how I got it with the 50, 30, and 20% method. And then I was going to do my expenses after this class to see how it's going to go, as I thought someone would show the Excel sheet so I can see how I can base the expense off.
Okay, so see, this is why it's important that, because you said you're going to do your expenses after class, but you already mentioned some of the expenses already, because utilities are part of the expenses, right? And it's if you are just going to take an average, like say for example, I don't know, light or whatever it may be, or whatever bill you want to find from this list here, and you run the same number for the January, February, March, April, all the way to December, and you do that for every number down the list, you're going to run into a problem because your bills should not be the same for every month. Remember that the education expense is going to be different in different months, depending on your utilities. Typically, utilities run higher during dry season for electric because it's hotter. You use more fan, you use more AC if you have it. And then, so it really, they're going to vary, right? The numbers are going to vary from month to month. And the pages, there's supposed to be 3 pages for the Excel budget. And the first page is supposed to be an overall page that is your annual budget, and it shows by month, January through December with totals, and shows the money coming in and the money going out. You can limit it to the main heading categories that you're going to use. So you can say you have your salary, and then your like gross salary, your deductions, and your net salary. Then you could break it down and show your individual expenses under each category. So you could say living expenses, which could include rent and utilities. Then you could have transportation expense, and you could have food expense. However there's leeway there how you want to list them, right? But also too, like on days when you're working, are you going to be working from home, or where are you going to be working? Are you still there?
It's at the restaurant.
Okay, I don't know. Excel budget, I've stated repeatedly, it's supposed to be 3. Okay, so just so you can have to listen to that part there. The restaurant. So is the restaurant in the same town? Is it, can you give me a little bit more?
It's in San Ignacio. I live in Santa Elena.
Okay, so how are you going to get there every day?
Taxi, or I can just use my mom's car, which I have to pay gas for.
Okay, all right. So the thing is now is to make sure that you're covered for insurance purposes. You want to make sure that your name is on that insurance policy. And typically when you do that, that means that you should give some money towards that insurance of that vehicle as well. And also you're going to be paying gas for the vehicle, but you also should contribute some money towards the upkeep of the vehicle, since you are deteriorating the value of the vehicle every time you get behind the wheel and drive it, right? So these are things that you're going to have to think about including into that. Now, if you're going to be living at home, again, you can, if you spoke to your parents and said, okay, this is the amount of money that I'm going to be making, and you could say that the conversation took place, or however you want to put it in the Excel spreadsheet, you could say based upon discussion, we came up with this number based upon this, right? So if you're going to give money just for a place to live, or if you're going to give just money towards utilities, or if you're going to give money towards the food, right? And then what about when you're working? Are you going to come home from the restaurant to eat, or can you get meals at the restaurant? And if you get meals at the restaurant, you have to pay a percentage, or you have to pay. Some restaurants charge 50% of what the customer pays. Some of them give you free food, right? So it depends on where you're working, and you have to allot for that. So that means that would actually save you money, because then if you get free food at the restaurant, you can have your one meal there a day when you're working, and then you only have to worry about your other meals when you're in the morning when you leave, or at night, or your days off. So this, again, each situation, it's really impossible for me to be able to depict, because what works for you will not work for anybody else possibly in the class, because you're the only one who lives with your parents, who's going to get them to use their car, and you're going to work in Santa Elena, or live in Santa Elena and work in San Ignacio. So everybody has to kind of customize this for them. And again, the idea here is that you're using the Excel spreadsheet and the tools that you use in the assignment to basically create this budget, okay? Any clearer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to ask one question. So I have calculated my wages by counting the amount of work days in each month. Now, each month has a different amount of full work days and a different amount of Saturdays, and Saturdays are only 4-hour days, half days. So, and each month has a different amount of days. So I have a different salary for each month. Is that good?
That's exactly what I told you you're supposed to have. My exact words were your salary, not, and it doesn't matter. I get paid the same amount of money from UB every month, but my take-home salary is different every month, because there are a different number of Mondays in every month, which means that Social Security changes from month to month. If there's 4 Mondays in a month, your deduction for Social Security is one amount. If there's 5 Mondays in a month, your deduction is another amount. So you have to take in consideration all of that, whether or not you get paid. Sometimes there may be a month where you get paid once, maybe there's a payment where you get twice. And again, too, it could also affect if you get overtime, during certain seasons. And like you said, if there's a number of Saturdays or whatever it may be that affects it, your pay is going to be different too. That should be the same. Everyone should have different pay for the month, just because of Social Security right off the bat. All right.
Sir, I had a question.
Okay.
On the Social Security website, it says that for you to be able to get your insurance or Social Security, you need to have at least $520 for the week. And the job that I have doesn't pay that much per week. You pay less than that.
Actually, I don't believe that is not correct. Social Security has a minimum. People make up to and including the minimum they have to pay. So anybody who makes, I believe it's more than $40 a week, pays Social Security. So let me just pull it up for you here, and I think you're reading it incorrectly. That may be $520 for the month.
Excuse me, sir.
Yep.
I am applying for this one at ENR. I got the information, but they didn't give me how much they will pay me for social and all those things there. And for the ones for the do we have to choose from those ones? Let me see. Wait.
Hold on one second. Let me answer this first person's question. Do you see that? I forget who asked that question about Social Security, right? This is weekly earnings. If you earn under $70 per week, right? You pay $1.03 Social Security. Your employer pays $4.47 every week. Every week there is a week, right? So every Monday in a month. This is right off the Social Security website. And to answer, I believe it's Brian's question, they don't pay you Social Security, they deduct Social Security. So this is where you're supposed to get that from. And as far as your employer not knowing the salary, I've said what to do with that for 11 weeks, and I don't even know if I want to answer that question at this point, being that we're now 11 weeks into the project and they're still asking the same question. You are responsible to get the pay for that position from the employer, or research it by searching another country. And this is in the same video that tells you that you have to come up with this salary. So I'm not sure where the disconnect is, but that should not be a question at this point. The problem is that you need to research how much that job pays in a market similar to Belize so you can come up with a salary. Or call the company directly and ask them what the rate of pay is.
Excuse me, sir. The wages you have there for pet and insurance, do we have to apply those, all of them, or just the ones we have? For example, I have a motorcycle and then I don't have a pet.
Okay, well, I think it's pretty clear. I don't want you to go out and buy a pet, right? So what I stated was, if you have a pet, then you have to feed the pet. If you have a pet, your pet will probably get sick. But if you don't have a pet, just like if you don't have a child, right? I don't want you to go get somebody pregnant for this project. I want you to be able to answer that question and think about childcare if it does indeed affect you. These are some of the things, not all. You know, I didn't list down that whether or not you have a debilitating illness, but if you have something that requires you to spend money, you need to include that under healthcare, right? So you need to look at what you spend, right? Or what you will need to spend in this virtual world that you're creating here with your getting this job, okay? So the insurance, you're gonna need to license the motorcycle, you're gonna need to have a driver's license to ride the motorcycle, and you're gonna need to insure the motorcycle. Those are things that are real, right? You don't have to worry about doing a car on top of that, and you're gonna have to buy gas, right? But you're also gonna have to think about maintaining the motorcycle, changing the oil filter and such, right? So if you don't have it, then in that case, especially when it comes to something like a pet, if you don't own a car, I don't expect you to pay car insurance, right? But I do expect you to explain how you're going to get to and from work. And once you do that, then I'm going to look for that expense. Okay. So the expenses need to be based on reality, right? Not just made up. Nothing in this is supposed to be made up. They can be estimates without being just made up by just guessing or just throwing numbers on a piece of paper, right? It doesn't take 30 hours to just throw down. I mean, I could just say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna collect $2,000 a month. I got $400 for rent. I got $100 for food. I got $100 for water, $50 for this. I'm done, 15 minutes. That's not a project. That's something that I would expect that, maybe standard 1, standard 2, they could probably come up with that. This is something where you're going to have to sit down and research it, right? This is why the project was given 11 weeks ago, right? This is the reason why you were given the time to work on this. These types of questions, I'm glad to be getting them. I wish I was getting them back in week 7, week 8, week 9, but better late than never. But remember that you're putting this on yourself now, that you have a lot of work to do. This is not an easy project. It shouldn't, I'm going to be spending an hour on each one to grade it. I'm not going to be spending an hour on something that's easy to basically complete. I'm going to be checking it and cross-referencing it to make sure your cover letter and your resume match, that what the person asked for in the job advertisement is clearly demonstrated in the letter and the resume, that the type of resume that you told me that you were going to use, that you did use it, that you listed your skills, that you have very little or no grammatical errors, that you follow the guidelines for those types of resumes in there, that you basically address the letter properly, that you got your 2 letters of reference, right? And then the budget explains it. And then when you do your presentation, I'm going to be expecting that everybody, that when you present everything, that you're explaining it, that in your video, that you're showing a PowerPoint that has the pictures from your resume, that's going to have pictures from your cover letter, that's going to have your budget and your budget explained. So you're going to be spending time explaining these things. You're going to give an introduction. You're going to explain the resume that you chose. You're going to explain the job that you're applying for. And you're going to explain the resume that you chose and the different parts of the resume. Then you're going to explain the cover letter. You're going to show the advertisement. You're going to show your reference letters. Then you're going to explain your budget and show each page of the budget, but inside of a PowerPoint with you visible in the video, right? So you're going to have that presentation video that you're going to send me. Okay.
Sir, I had one question, sir. Where exactly do we need to put the link for the video that we recorded? Can it be in the same cover letter document?
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
So it has to be a separate one.
Right where it tells you to put it. See here, it tells you that you're going to submit what? You will submit 4 files as listed below in the format stated only. A Microsoft Word cover letter, a Microsoft Word resume, a Microsoft Excel annual budget, and a Microsoft Word document with a Google Drive presentation link, right? Or it could be YouTube presentation link, whatever one you're going to use, but make sure that whatever you send me, that when I click on the link, that it opens it. If I click on the link and it takes me to it and says that you do not have rights to open it, I will message you, but your assignment will be considered late at that point, because I do not know if that was done intentionally so that you could revise what you are sending me the link to. And there's no way for me to know that. So you need to make sure that when you put that link in there, whether it's on YouTube, that it's listed as a public share, and if it's on Google Drive, that it's shared with me by my email address, which you all have, and or with anyone who has the link. So either way, but I need to be able to open it. And I can tell you that today, somebody did from a different class send in their project early. And 2 things I noticed about their project. One was their link was not shared with me. When I clicked on it, it did not allow me to go into it. And the second thing is that they had their presentation was showing in there like this. And the presentation should be showing like this is how it should be showing, where it's actually the slide and a picture up in the corner of the person, right? So you have to make sure that your slides are in presentation view and that your video is on, your microphone is on. I'm not asking for any PowerPoint to be sent to me. If you send a PowerPoint, I mean, it'll be an extra file. I don't know if the system will take it, but I'm not going to grade it because I'm going to be looking at your presentation. And if you send me a PowerPoint that has recordings inside of it, I'm not even going to open the PowerPoint, so I'll never get to know. You're going to get marked off for not having a video, right? Remember, your video has to be done either using, you can use Google Meet, you can use Zoom, and you can use, or you can use some other recording software that allows you to be present in the video with your PowerPoint and make sure that your video is in there as well, right? Yourself. Understand, Daniel?
Yes, sir.
And then everybody should be able to find this. I mean, I just Google Social Security and it takes you right to the contribution. And this is the most recent one, April 4th, 2022. And so you have to look at your salary, figure out what you'll be paid. And like I said, these are based upon weeks. So it's all based upon the number of Mondays. So that's how the weeks run. So remember that there's 12 months in a year, but there are 52 weeks. So that means if there was only 4 weeks every month, there would only be 48. So there's 4 extra weeks. So there typically is going to be at least 4 weeks. Sometimes there's 5. Sometimes there's 53 weeks in a year because there's 53 Mondays. So you'll have to determine that looking at the calendar for next year, right? Let me look back at this. So you're going to do a brief introduction. You're going to present your cover letter. You're going to present your resume. You're going to present your budget. And again, you're going to be doing this. You can be using snippets of your work. You can take different sections of your work and put pieces up there so you can do them on multiple slides. So it's not so small that I can't see it. And then you could put a picture in the slide. So like, for example, like something like this, you could put a picture and then have bullet points where you're going to discuss certain things, right? You want to avoid being wordy. So like short bullet points, just enough that it gets you to remember what you want to talk about, right? You should be able to speak from experience and memory on this project since you're talking about yourself for the most part, and your own skills, your own resume, your own cover letter, your own reference letters, the job that you looked up, and then your own expenses. So that's why it's important that you're going to be looking at the camera. You're going to be, you don't want to have, you're not going to be reading your cover letter. You're not going to be reading your resume. You're not going to, no, that's not what your presentation is. Your presentation will be presenting them and highlighting the key parts of each one. What you put there, why it is in that, why you chose that format, the job that you're applying for, the key components of the cover letter that refer to the position that you're applying for, and then the breakdown of expenses. And you can discuss your use of your formulas. Remember that you are required for Excel to make sure that you use all of the formulas, cell references, absolute references, cell range names, if to represent all data. So all of the formulas that you used for your assignment need to be present in your budget. Otherwise, you don't get the points here for this one. And then you're supposed to track your utilities and your other expenses with the graphs and charts, and have 2 of them. And again, you should have a title on the chart and label the access labels for a bar chart or a column chart. If it's a pie chart, then you should use data call out labels to show what the data is that you're referring to. Okay. Then, like I said, anyone who does not submit by Sunday, then what I will be doing, how this is going to work, pan out for the rest of the semester, is that I will next Monday, I will be going through the 4 sections of this class that I'm teaching, and anyone who didn't submit an assignment, I'll be entering those grades for 0. And then I will not start grading the project for this course until Saturday, the 26th. That is after the late submission deadline. So,
Sir,
yes,
I had a question, sir. On the exam schedule, there is a slot for CMPS 1014. I don't know why, because you said that we only would do the final project. So why is there a CMPS 1014 saying that we have an exam? It's on-
honestly, I can't answer why they did what they did, but they put it there. And like I said, there is none. So I'm the one doing the grading. So unless you get it from me, it don't count, right? So I can tell you that you have 1 grade left. If you'd like to take a final exam, I can see what I could arrange for you, but there is none for this course. And that's why you have to realize that when you all get a course outline like this, the information that's in it when it comes to what, if it's going to be changed, you're going to get an email or a message from me stating that it's changed, and there is no final exam. And I unfortunately, every semester the university puts out a final exam schedule, and what do? They copy and paste it from the previous semester. And every semester I have to tell them this course does not have a final exam, and every semester they take too long to take it off. And a few students are conscious and see it. Some students may even go to Belmopan, which is what my concern is that someone would just go there, even though I told them there is no final exam, and they're gonna waste time and gas and energy and so forth. But I don't know what to tell you there, why it's there. I can just tell you that it's not supposed to be there.
Yes, sir, because I remember at the start of the year, they also said that we wouldn't have for English, but now that the semester is already finishing, they are saying that we are going to have a final exam.
Right. Yeah, and if you look back to the last few weeks, and I've made it clear that you only have 1 grade left, right? So I think the last time I showed you this here, this was just like 2 weeks ago, and not even, this was a week ago, and it basically showed you that you only have 1 thing left. So I think it would be pretty rotten of me to kind of sneak it in and say, hey, by the way, you got an exam tomorrow morning, and I'm not going to do something like that, right? So I understand the asking of the question. The answer is no, there is no final exam for this course. There's only a final project, final assessment, which is very important. And this is why I gave it out at week 4, because it counts for 30% of your grade. To have you be able to sit down in one night and knock something out in 60 minutes, that's not a course project. That's not even a homework assignment. That might be a forum. That's about it. And that'd be worth about 2% of your grade. This is 30% of your grade. This is worth 3 full grades. This can take you from an A to a fail, right? From an A to a D, right? This is what it could take you from, because you lose 30 points off your grade if you don't submit it. So please understand that the value of it is directly related to what you are submitting. I will grade it as a final exam assessment, whatever you want to call it, as a 30-point valuable piece of submission. Right, so I will be grading these starting the 26th. I plan it's going to take me approximately about 2 to 3 weeks to grade them all. As I grade each section, I will post your grade in Moodle, and you will all get back this exact same document. Each person will get 1 of these, and when you get it back, you will notice that for each piece of each submission, you will have a grade in each box going down. If you do not have a 4, unless it's pretty obvious, like if it's something that says spelling and grammar errors, then and you have a 2, it's because you have multiple spelling and grammar errors. But if it's something that's not obvious and you are off on a specific thing, then you should expect a comment here. But everyone will get back 1 of these. You will get back 1 of these, and then your grade will be entered manually. Once I do that, I will email your group and tell you that this group, 5 o'clock on Wednesdays, is completed. Your grade is entered. Please check it. Please check your rubric and see if you have any questions, right? Then if you don't have any, that's fine. You don't need to respond. But what I'm telling you this for is because if I make a calculation error, right, which has happened in the past. So say, for example, I add up your grade and I misadd it by 4 points. which then lowers your grade by, like say, from a B to from a B plus to a B for this particular assignment, which can affect your grade. If that happens, I give you 3 days to go through and check it and make sure that you haven't, see if you have any questions or to make sure there's no calculation errors. Once that happens, once it goes past the 3 days, I enter your grades into the grading system. Now what would happen is I would have to submit a grade change report, and that will not happen until January, which means that it could affect your registration if this course is a prerequisite for you. So it's important that you're checking your email from now until the end of the semester. I would really suggest every day, just because things change a lot, right? So it's important that you check that. Then once that's done, then you're good to go. Your grade in Moodle is accurate. So whatever your grade is in Moodle is correct at this point in time. As I stated, I think last week or the week before, if you have a 54 or less in Moodle, then there's really no way that you could pass the course. So and if you want to ask me, why should I submit the project? I can't tell you that. That's up to you. The bottom line is that you cannot withdraw from any course at this point in time. The only thing that you could do if you have a, like I say, a 52 or a 50 or a 49 is you could resign from the semester, but you have to resign from all of your courses. So I don't know if you want to spend time on something, because I have some students that have very low grades, and all of a sudden now they started doing quizzes after not doing a quiz from August, and they just did one today. And now all of a sudden, that, you know, or they did one the last day that they were due. So I'm wondering what they're thinking, because their grade went from an 8 to a 12, and that's it. But they're not going to get anything higher than that. Even if they do the project, they may get a 40. So there's no way they can pass. So I'm not sure what to tell you, but if you want my advice, you can email me, and I'll tell you the best thing that you could do for you in your situation. But so this is the all of the rubrics. And again, before you submit it, I highly recommend that you go through the rubric line by line and look at what your submission is, right? The reason why you are given the rubric up front is because back in the early days of UB and a lot of education institutions, you would get an assignment and it may or may not spell it out like it does here. Probably not as detailed as it does here, but maybe even less. And then when you got graded, you would get graded and you would lose points, and you would say, but I never knew I was going to lose points for that. This is why you get the rubric up front. So the same tool that I'm using to grade your assignment, you have it. So there's no reason why you can't review it yourself, compare it to the rubric, and see that you've done what it requires. So you have two things right off the bat that I'm pointing to, which is one, the instructions, besides the links that are here for samples and such, but you also have the rubrics. And then again, you also have, each piece has its own video, which explains the rubric and kind of brings it to life. So hopefully between that and the fact that you've been working on this all semester would be enough to make sure that you have a good grade for your project. Any final questions? All right, folks. Well, it's been a pleasure this semester working with you. Next semester, this course, if any of you are going to be repeating it or not, just so you know, next semester, this course will only be offered in a synchronous format. This was this semester, I believe, might be the last semester that this will be offered asynchronously, at least during the regular semesters, where we're going to be trying it next semester as a synchronous delivery and then comparing the results from the 2 semesters to see which set of students perform better, asynchronous versus synchronous. But I can tell you that a lot of students, this group here is probably one of the larger groups that I've had for showing up, but still we're well short of the 35 that signed up for the course, and that's the problem. So next semester, the 35 students are required, and once you miss 6 sessions, you automatically drop 1 grade. So you go from an A to a B. And if you miss 12, you go from a B to a C. So there's no sense in coming back because you're probably not doing your work anyway. So it's important that the students come to ask these questions, right? It's important. And then the sessions will be basically the same as a face-to-face, but they'll be done here, and then they will have support materials that will be provided as well, so that students can continue to study outside the classroom.
Sir, I have a question.
Mhm.
Sir, for the same thing with the budget. So you asked me 2 charts, sir, but for some reason with my Excel, sir, like when I put up the charts, it's not showing like no type of information or data or anything in the charts.
And that happened for your assignment too? I'm sorry, did I lose you?
But yes, sir, because I'm not sure why it does that, but it doesn't show like no type of information.
So, so you're saying that when you submitted your assignment, you didn't do the charts, right? Your Excel assignment? I'm not sure if you're not hearing me.
Excuse me, sir.
Yep.
For the cover letter, what do you mean by reference letter we should put?
Would probably suggest that you go back and watch the video from week 4 and also on the assignments, because the reference letter is not written by you. The reference letters are written by other people, right? This is something that we've been saying pretty much for the last 10 weeks, right? So that should already be done already. You're supposed to have 2 reference letters from other people, right? Miss Gabriel, is this yours?
This Clarissa, sir.
Correct, I know, but there was somebody else who asked the question before you interjected, right? I'm not sure if she doesn't have the question anymore, but she's not answering. I can't see that there, that's not it. Let me pull something up here real quick here. Okay. Can you still see my screen or no?
No, sir.
Okay, right now. Now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, because the question the young lady asked, she said, when I do my charts, nothing shows up. All right. So my question was, when you did your homework assignment for Excel and submitted it, that means you didn't do any graphs or charts. And I really can't go forward unless I get an answer there. All right, well, just as a point of reference, if I want to chart information, the only way I can chart information is if I select the information I want to chart. So if I wanted to chart, for example, all of these people, right? All of these people and all of their donations, then I would select both of them. And that's how this chart was created, right? So if you look at, if I click on this chart, you can see that all of this and all of this was selected. That's what's there. So if you have a chart that is blank, that means that what you did was you clicked on a blank cell and then you said insert chart. And that's what you did. You charted a blank cell. So therefore you will have nothing there, right? So you have to select the data that you want to chart. And I would recommend going back, because most of the students that struggled with the Excel assignment and with the Word assignment struggled with it because they didn't review any of the tutorials in the various weeks that were there. So I would recommend that you go back through those tutorials for any part of the assignment that you're having trouble with. You can also use the GCF Global website and type in the skill that you're looking for, such as if or charts, as a resource, right? To make sure that you got it. All right. So Hopefully I answered both questions there. You need 2 reference letters. You have to go call up your pastor, a past teacher, a past employer, and you have to say, hey, I'm applying for a job. I need a reference letter to this company. Can you please write it for me? You need 2 of them. They type it out, they print it, they sign it, and they either take a picture of it and email it to you, or you go to their house and you pick it up, and then you take a picture of that and you put that in your cover letter. Your cover letter is to be 4 pages. Your cover letter is addressed to the employer and has all of the pieces that it says in the assignment, including the 2nd page, which is a copy of the job advertisement, and the 3rd and 4th page, which are your 2 reference letters. Is that clearer now, Clarissa?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Since the Moodle page is down, I'm going to be sharing this link via Quick Tools. It's on my computer, so I have to upload it to YouTube, and then I'll be sharing it via Quick Tools. But because it's an hour long, it's going to probably